Hi, I'm Russell Coit from MetalRoofingOnline. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a standard rainhead that we do here in our sheet metal shop. Before we get started, I'll just show you, this is one of our ordering forms, and really the whole purpose of it is for us to know how high you want the rainhead, how far off the wall, and the width of the rainhead. So one of our standard ones would be a height of 400 mil, and out from the wall 200 mil, and a width of 400 mil also. We've got the two options, either a squash fold around the top or a rib, which we charge a little bit more for the rib. So on this occasion with my display one, I'll just show you how to do it with the squash fold around the top. And I'll cross out the rib there so I know. I've got a display one here on the table that I can show you that I made for a customer. It's out of copper. It came up pretty good. Yeah, that's basically a finished product of what they look like. This one's obviously got the rib around the top there. And as I said before, you got the two options, either just a squash fold or a rib around the top. Yeah, and that's how they come up. So we'll get started on this one. I'm going to do this one in a COLORBOND woodland grey, because that's the most popular colour that we use. Now with our measurements, the squash fold I usually make 15 mil around the top there, and I allow 25 mil to the bottom for the lock seaming machine that we use around the bottom there. You can see how the bottom of that comes up. That's because it's been put through the lock seaming machine. So with the 25 mil at the bottom there and the 15 at the top, that's an extra 40 mil. So I'll make that piece 440 by, the length of it will be, we've got 400 at the front and 200 that way. So if I times that by 2, because we've got the back and the other side, so that's 1200, and then I need a 20 mil lap on the back of it to rivet the two together. So we'll make that 1220. These are, I'm using these measurements for my blanks that I'm about to cut so that we can turn it into these. With our bottom piece, I need to fold all the edges up, and usually I fold those edges up on each side 5 mil. So with the width, I'll make that 210 mil by 410 mil. And once I've folded all those sides up 5 mil, it'll bring it back to the 200 by 400. Okay, so I'll go and grab my offcuts and I'll chop those in the guillotine and we'll get started. Okay, I'll just make sure there's no scratches on this before we get started. Yeah, it looks like they're just scratches on the plastic, the ones that are on there, so it hasn't gone through to the actual metal. When you're installing the COLORBOND Rainheads, you just pull the plastic off at the end. We leave it on there to protect it while we're making it. So our measurements, we need to make sure it's perfectly square. So I'll square up that edge. Okay, so we've got our first square mark at the side there. Now we can work from that because we know this edge is square. So our length is going to be 1220 that we worked out. So from that mark there, I'm going to go 1220. And the same at the top here. And our height that we worked out was 440 mil. Okay, and I'll just put a cross on that one because that's our bit that we don't need at the top there. We just need this part here. I might mark our smaller piece as well so that I don't go to the guillotine and then have to come back and go back again. So the small piece is 210 by 410. So I'll just square this edge up like we did with the other one. There we go, 410. By 210. Okay, so we'll take these two pieces over to the guillotine and chop them up. If you haven't got a guillotine like this, you can cut it with your tin snips, but you've got to be really neat with your tin snips. Obviously this guillotine gives it a really nice edge. That's our small one. Okay, now with our bigger piece, as I showed you at the start on the copper one, that's the side that we've got to do the lock seam down. So the next stage is to put the lock seam on this long edge of the flat piece here. Okay, so if you haven't got one of these lock seaming machines, you're going to find it very difficult to make this Rainhead up because it is a crucial part of the Rainhead, putting that seam across the bottom of it, okay? That's basically it, yeah. You just got to make sure you get it nice and square at the start there and feed it through so that it doesn't twist as you're putting it through there. Okay, now to put all the marks on the Rainhead, we've got to make sure we get these right or it's going to end up at the wrong size. So the mark I like to do first is the back of the Rainhead, and in this occasion the front and the back are going to be 400 mil. So I'll start from that square edge there and go 400 mil. Actually no, sorry, before I do that, I'm going to mark where the squash fold's going to be in the top there. So that squash fold was 15 mil and our height of our Rainhead's going to be 400 mil. So from this edge here, because this bottom edge is going to get tapped around, so that'll end up flat. So the bottom of the Rainhead is actually that edge there. So I'll go 400 mil from there. Okay, we'll start again with that back one. So it was 400 mil across the back here. And then the side was 200 mil. And then we've got the front of the downpipe, sorry, the front of the Rainhead, which is 400 mil again. And then the other side, which should leave our 20 mil lap there. Just worked out perfectly. And then the same measurements across the bottom here. The 400 mil, 200 mil, and the same again. Okay. Now I'm going to put some cuts in this to make it easier for when we bend it. So I'll get rid of this one because this 20 mils our lap. I'll cut that bottom piece off there so it doesn't get in our way when we're joining it. At the bottom here, because this bit gets tapped around, it's a good idea to put some cuts in just in that bottom piece there. It makes it a lot easier when you're trying to fit the other piece to the bottom of it. In our squash fold here, I usually just cut a little bit of that off. I usually put some V's at the top here, which you won't see once we've done that squash fold. But once that's squashed over, you'll still be able to see our mark there because I've put this V in it. And then again with this last piece here, I like to cut it off because it'll be in the way if we don't, because it's the lap. Okay, I'll mark the bottom piece as well before we take it over to the folding machine. Okay, so this is the one I chopped up for the bottom piece. Now we've got to put our 5 mil bends in this, so I'll mark it all out to suit the bottom of the Rainhead. So we've got 5 mil there, and that'll work out at 405 mil, which will make that 400 mil across the bottom there. The same at this side. And on the sides here, we want that to end up at 200 mil. So, like our first one, 5 mil, and then 205 mil, which leaves us 200 mil in the middle there. Okay, now with our tin snips, we just want to cut across on a 45-degree angle to get rid of that corner piece, because we won't be able to bend it up, nor we won't be able to tap it into the bottom of the Rainhead if we don't get rid of that corner piece there on all the 4 sides. Okay, we'll take both of these over to the folding machine and bend those up. Okay, so this bottom piece, I'm just going to put a 90-degree fold on all these 4 sides. Okay, that one's done. Now for our main piece, I need to do the squash fold first, or we won't be able to do that. If we do any of the other folds first, we won't be able to get to that squash fold, so just make sure you do that one first. all our other bends are going to be at 90 degrees. You need to start off with the lap first, the short side. So usually I feed the whole thing in and just get them one after the other from the lap. Okay, it's starting to take shape now. We've done all our bends with the folding machine. I just need to rivet this edge together and then fit this bottom piece inside there. So probably best that I rivet this together first. I like to make it a bit easier for the people that have ordered these, and I'll pull the plastic back so that, because if I rivet that together with the plastic in there, it's just a bit of a hassle for the customer to get the plastic out afterwards, or to cut it with their Stanley knife. Get that out of the way, and the same with this other piece here. Okay, with these squash ones, it makes it a bit easier when you're connecting them, because I like to put that lap just underneath the squash there. Tap that in. And it's pretty crucial that you make this this bottom join absolutely perfectly, and that those the bottom and the lock seaming mark there line up on both the sides. So I'll grab my glasses and I'll put some rivets in there. Just make sure when before you put these rivets in that's absolutely perfect down the edge there, that it's not overlapping too much, that the edges meet up perfectly. Okay, now that I've got those 3 rivets in it, that'll hold it secure. So I'll drill my other holes out and then I'll get rid of all the swarf before I put the last of the rivets in there. Get rid of all that swarf. Okay, there we go. With this bottom piece, it's a good idea to take the plastic off that one for the same reasons that we pulled the plastic away there. So when you tap it into the bottom there, the plastic becomes locked in there, and then you have to cut it with your Stanley knife to get it out. So it's best to just pull it out at the start. Some of the other companies don't do this, but we always try to make a point of doing it to make it easier when they come to installing the Rainhead. With the sides that I lock seamed, I like to grab the pliers, which are in my tool belt here, and just bend that out the way a bit, because when we're trying to tap that piece into the lock seaming bit here, this edge can become a little bit annoying and in the way when you're trying to do it. So if you bend that out the way first with your pliers, it makes it a lot easier to do. notice that this edge here is not as square as the others. So I'm just going to tap that back into shape. That's better. Okay. So hopefully this fits nicely, like it's supposed to. There we go. Now, the best way to get started with these is to hold one of the corners secure and then tap the edge down and then tap that edge over it, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, yeah, as you can see there, I've tapped that into the lock seaming join there, and I'm just going to tap this corner over it to get us started. That'll hold it secure while I do this corner. When you're doing a job like this, it's a good idea to have one of these sheet metal hammers. They're designed a little bit different to your standard hammer and just makes it a bit easier for this kind of job. Okay, this is our last edge here, which I'm about to tap over, and then I'm going to neaten up all the other ones and just make sure that they're perfectly flat. So I'll just be knocking away for a second. Okay, that's quite neat on the bottom here. So basically all that's left for when you install the Rainhead is to cut this plastic away, which I'll show you how to do. If you run the blade of your Stanley knife along that lock seam edge, like so. Lucky this is just a demonstration one because it does have a couple of scratches in it. Okay, look, these tiny scratches that you can see in it, most of the time you won't see those anyway, because these rainheads are normally about, you know, 3 or 4 meters up in the air, and you can't see it once it's all the way up there anyway. So the situation on site when you're installing one of these is you normally got a box gutter coming out of the wall. So you've got to cut the back of the rainhead in and fit that against the wall. Make sure that that's the side that I've got the lap on. Sorry, I've missed a rivet there. Yeah, just make sure the side that I've got the lap on is the back of the rainhead, which goes against the wall. So you cut the back of that out so that the box gutter goes into the rainhead. You want to take it into the rainhead about 50 mil. Any more than that's unnecessary really. You can go into it 100 mil, but you don't need to. And then you need to cut an overflow slot in it. Now the overflow slot is governed by the height that the box gutter comes into the rainhead. So you might have an overflow slot that you know, up near the top here or in the middle here or even down the bottom here, and that's so that if the box gutter or the rainhead blocks up at all, then all the water just pours out the overflow slot in the rainhead. So you've got to make sure you get that at the right size once you've installed this. As far as I know, the overflow slot needs to be the same size as the downpipe, but you just need to check your local plumbing regulations for that. So if you've got a 100 by 75 downpipe coming out the bottom, then you need to have a 100 by 75 overflow slot in there. The bottom of the rainhead, when you're installing it, you need to put your downpipe pop in. So yeah, you basically mark that out and put your downpipe pop in. I've shown in some other videos how to install the downpipe pops in the gutter. It's the same practice that you do in the bottom of the rainhead there. You mark it all out, you cut it, and then you fit it. The only thing that'll be left is to put some silicone in there. Because this is holding water, you need to run some silicone along that lap edge here that I've done, and around the bottom of it, around all 4 sides of the bottom of it there. Be generous with the silicone.